It's almost frustratingly common to trade a whole host of features in exchange for an improvement in a singular area. Some of those trade-offs are somewhat impossible to design around. If you want the fastest track day car, well then it's probably not going to have all that much in the way of luggage space. But some are much more artificial. In the world of desktop microphones, the ones that us gamers are likely to be familiar with are ones like the Elgato Wave 3, the Blue Yeti, even the HyperX Quadcast or Razer Siren X. Those are all plug and play. They're pretty versatile, and some of them are incredibly feature rich. But compared to this, the Shure MV7, what you're hearing right now if you can't tell, they frankly pale in comparison, at least in audio quality. The MV7 is somewhat of a different genre of mic compared to the more standard lot. It's definitely more into the prosumer or even professional market, rather than the more traditional, the standard ones, which lie much more squarely in the consumer space. It's not just a USB condenser mic with a standard electret capsule. It's a dynamic mic with both a USB output and a clean feed going to an XLR jack. You can use this just like any other XLR mic without the USB cable attached, or just use it like any other USB mic without ever hooking up an XLR cable, or be extra special and have it outputting to both simultaneously. The other big difference, as I'm sure you've heard already, is the quality. For comparison's sake, here is the Elgato Wave 3 recording at the same time. I'll leave a note on screen so that you can see which it is you're listening to, although I think you'll probably work it out yourself pretty easily. The Shure, despite it technically being slightly lower spec with its 48 kHz maximum sampling rate compared to the 96 kHz on the Wave 3, it sounds markedly better. Even if the Wave is at the same sort of close to my mouth position arrangement as the Shure, it still doesn't produce the same tone or quality of my voice quite as well. And that's before you start fiddling with the XLR output, which provides an unprocessed output that you can capture with a dedicated recorder or interface. What you've been hearing thus far has all been over USB, using their ShurePlus MOTIV app. Emphasis on the word app there, as it's rather obvious that this software is just an Android app that's been repackaged to work on desktop and not redesigned literally at all. The app has either an auto level or manual modes. You've actually been hearing the auto level mode with the mic position set to near and the tone set to natural. Those are all the default settings, and it's actually kind of the best collection of settings that I've found thus far. Although if you are more enthusiastic and you want to tweak it a little bit further, you can switch to the manual mode, adjust the mic gain, which is the same thing as you can change on the device controls here, along with four different EQ profiles or positions: flat, high pass, presence boost, or high pass and presence boost. You can also enable a limiter and change the compressor setting from off to light to medium or heavy. Now, you might be wondering both why I have an XLR cable connected and why I haven't shown you that audio yet. The reason is that thanks to this being a dynamic mic, you really need to pump the gain really, really high. The 36 decibels that the USB connection peaks at, the highest that you can crank it to, is arguably still not enough. And while the Zoom H5 that I'm recording this into can boost the output just about enough, it does end up losing some of the quality that you should otherwise be benefiting from. You almost need something along the lines of a cloud lifter alongside a high quality interface to make the most of, out of this style of mic. And that brings me nicely onto one of the biggest drawbacks, which is the price. At MSRP, this thing with its little included Manfrotto tripod will set you back £269. Yeah, Now, happily, you can pick up the mic without the tripod, which actually I would recommend anyway, although I'll cover that in a second, for more like 180. That's the sort of street price. Now, that isn't so unreasonable. That more street price pricing is about £60 more than the Wave 3, and if you are serious about streaming or running a podcast, then I can see that being a worthwhile investment. The catch is, if you do want to use this via XLR, in theory the best way to get the best quality out of it, well, you'll need to spend the 180 on the mic, another 150 on a cloud lifter, and another 100 on an interface like the Focusrite Scarlett Solo or 2i2, which takes it from around £200 investment to closing on 500. So the odds are that the majority of MV7 buyers will be sticking with USB and settling for the admittedly still fantastic, but not completely perfect performance. Luckily, when using it over USB, you do get some extra benefits. The built-in controls, all of which are capacitive and touch-sensitive areas, allow you to control the sort of controller or microphone's gain, the headphone output volume, and mute the mic, all with sort of single taps. Now, in theory, this is great, but in practice, the execution falls a little short. The touch controls weren't consistent at all for me. Sometimes it would register my press, other times it wouldn't, and that can be frustrating, but that gets compounded by their location. They are on top of the mic, inset into the band where the mount attaches to the microphone itself, and when using the mic in any other position than tilted downwards, aka covering your vision, the lights and controls are all facing away from you, making you crane your neck around just to see if a little LED is lit and if your mic's muted or not. And actually, while I'm talking about the design, why in 2022 is this microphone using micro USB? On a mic with its outputs on the back of it, and a mount that when you try and swivel it, it just tries to shear off the connectors. Why would you include a fragile, insecure connector here? They even included a USB-C to micro USB cable in the box, so they clearly know that USB-C both exists and is clearly useful, but they just didn't fancy putting it on the device too. And when it comes to the little Manfrotto tripod, I'm honestly left feeling underwhelmed. I've been using Manfrotto tripods to film these videos. In fact, the camera you're currently watching me from is sitting on a Manfrotto tripod, and like I said, I've been using them for a good 8 years now. The quality is always exceptional. They work really well. There's a reason why I bought multiple of them to hold my more expensive than I would like to admit camera gear, but this one, I don't think that it's doing the brand name justice, let's say. Now, it does feel relatively quality when you pick it up. The legs have a nice sort of stiffness but smooth motion. They feel pretty premium. And then you go and try and press the release button, and it is so heavy that it literally dents my thumb to be able to use it. It physically hurts to push the button in. My partner could barely do it at all. And then when you do push it in, the sort of knurling, what honestly looks like 3D printer layer lines on the actual pivot point itself, which I understand are there to help the grip, or like help the mechanism grip the sort of pivot point better, but when you do release it, it just scratches around. It feels incredibly cheap. It honestly feels like there's still like grit or swarf inside from the manufacturing process that's still kind of rooting around in there, and especially when it has the weight of the microphone on top, it actively screeches like nails on a chalkboard. It's awful, and I just don't understand why this has happened. I don't understand how something this premium, with this premium of a brand name, with a patent pending, feels this bad to use. It's also a bit of an odd design. Thanks to the long stem on the microphone's mount, when it's resting on the desk as intended, it's both very tall, which means it doesn't actually fit on my desk anywhere. I can't just tuck it behind my monitor. It needs to have its own space on my desk, and I don't have that. And then what's even worse is that if you do try and make use of the pivot to sort of bring the mic just a little bit closer to you, well, the tripod is too small to support this height and weight, and so it can literally just fall over. That seems like a strange oversight to me. What's also strange is the amount of plastic Shure included in the packaging. I mean, the mic comes in a plastic bag, which didn't stop it from getting marked, by the way. The tripod comes in a little plastic bag. The piece of cardboard used to advertise their software has a piece of tape on the back, making it harder to recycle. And that piece of cardboard comes in a plastic bag. Why? One of the USB cables came in a bubble wrap plastic bag, whereas the other came in a plastic bag that was 3 times too long. In a world where our oceans are literally chocked full of plastic that we didn't need, why are we needlessly creating more like this? The final thing I want to mention is the mic's placement. With most USB mics, like the Wave 3, they have a pretty wide range for where you can put them. You want to stick it on your desk half a meter away and just chat into it? Cool, turn it up. Sure, you might get a bit more background noise, but it'll still work. You want it right up in your face on a boom arm like this? Cool, no problem. Turn it down, get better quality. But with the MV7, it pretty much has to be attached to your lips to get good quality, and even then, still, with the gain set to its maximum plus 36 decibel setting, if you're more than just a couple inches away, it is incredibly quiet. Bearing in mind this is the maximum volume I can make it go, and well, I'm actually talking pretty loudly as well, and it's not great. You're probably going to have a hard time hearing this, and again, if this just wants to be on your desk just to pick up some background noise while you're playing games or whatever, that's just not feasible. Despite its flaws, it's hard to argue that this isn't an exceptional microphone, at least in its audio quality. The versatility of both USB and XLR outputs at the same time will be useful to some, and the ability to get £1,000 worth of audio quality in a £180 plug-and-play device is nothing to be scoffed at. It's just a shame that there are a number of strange quirks and decisions that make this a clear trade-off between ease of use and additional functionality and outright sound quality. The frustrating thing is that doesn't need to be the case here. Shure could have used USB-C instead, designed a mount that works a little bit better with both its I/O and for desk mount configurations, allowed for higher gain levels, at least over USB, made software that wasn't just a mobile app ported to desktop, and iterated on their touch controls design to make them more reliable and visible. Hell, they could have even pretty easily implemented Elgato's clip guard feature. All that is a second analog to digital converter built into the microcontroller and a few lines of code to detect when peaking happens on the primary channel and to switch to the secondary when that's happening and be able to switch between them. But they didn't. And that's kind of a shame. For the right buyer though, I can still see this being a very worthwhile purchase. If you already have the processing gear for XLR and you don't want to spend the money on a SM7B, then, or maybe you just care more about the quality than anything else, especially at that lower street price, well, I still think this could be a good buy. If you care more about the versatility, extra features, and ease of use, then it might be worth sticking to the more consumer gear, like the Wave. For me personally, I'll definitely be keeping using this. The audio quality is fantastic, and as I dial in the settings for things like my Zoom recorder to get the best quality, that's gonna be worth it in the long run. But again, I'm still gonna have to work out a way to, if nothing else, just mount the thing, especially at my desk, because I can't have this massive contraption just hanging out, on the side. I want to be able to mount it somewhere or put it away somewhere easily without fear of the micro USB cable breaking or having it just be very much in my way. With that said, those are my thoughts, but I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. What do you think about the MV7? Is it a mic you'd pick up yourself, or would you go with something like the Wave 3 instead? Or are you not really interested in this category and you'll just stick with your headset mic for your Discord buddies? Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. If you want to check out the mic, I will leave a link to it in the description down below. That'll be an Amazon affiliate link that will take you to your local Amazon store, where you can see pricing when and where you watch this, because it can and does vary. You can also support the channel in a whole load of ways. The easiest way is by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified of all of these new videos, or you can support more directly through YouTube itself, through the YouTube join button, or Patreon if you would rather and get cool rewards for doing so. Maybe pick up a hoodie or t-shirt like this one, or a load of other designs that I made myself, or there's even less direct ways through the Amazon Overclockers UK affiliate links that are in the description, or a load of other stuff that you can check out down there too. If you want to see more mic reviews, I've done a number of them in recent history, and you can check that out on the cards at the end, and that's kind of it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments down below as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.